Tonight's episode is very short, but with extremely high impact. I have three articles I'll post for you. One of those is from Akash Gupta. One is regarding a new statement by Elon Musk. And the last is about Andrej Karpathy. So you think those would have any impact? And then we'll check at Tesla's overnight stock price. Last I looked, it was up. So we'll see what it is when we get to the end here. All right, let's start with Akash Gupta. He says Tesla is building a chip factory bigger than anything TSMC, Samsung, or Intel has ever put under one roof, or maybe in one country would be a little more accurate. The 2 nanometer process technology domestically in the United States, and the name alone tells you the ambition, Tera, 1,000 gigas. Rewind now to 2014. He says Elon announced a $5 billion battery factory in the middle of the Nevada desert when Tesla sold only 35,000 cars a year. Analysts called it delusional. That factory now produces more lithium-ion cells than every other American manufacturer combined and completely restructured global battery supply chains. The Gigafactory was never about batteries. It was about removing the constraint that would have killed Tesla at scale. Remember, Elon is always looking for the bottlenecks. Terafab is the same bit. One level deeper in the stack. On the January earnings call, Elon laid it out, even projecting the most optimistic chip production from TSMC and Samsung. With that, supply will still fall short. FSD needs custom silicon. Cybercab needs custom silicon. Every Optimus robot needs dozens of AI chips. 1 million Optimus units per year means tens of billions of chips annually. No supplier on the planet has committed to that volume. I would go back and say 1 million Optimus means only a couple of million annually. I'm not sure what he was saying there. But at 100, if we're talking about 10 billion or 100 billion, yeah, now we're talking about a lot of chips. So Tesla is doing what it always does. It's building the supply chain that doesn't exist yet. The scale they're targeting, 100,000 wafers per month, ramping towards 1 million. TSMC's entire Arizona complex, 6 fabs, 165 billion invested, will represent about 30% of TSMC's advanced capacity. Tesla wants to match that in one facility. The AI industry runs on 3 inputs: energy, data, and compute. And Elon says that he needs to win all 3. Actually, he just mentioned the other day energy and compute, but he would have been wise to have included data. Tesla already generates and stores energy at scale through solar and Megapack. xAI already has Grok training infrastructure and the Memphis supercluster. Terafab closes the loop, one ecosystem controlling the full vertical from photon to silicon to autonomous machine. And I hate to mention it again, but there's a book up here. It's called AI Rising. And it was written specifically to deal with this entire stack. There's 8 levels to the stack, and the person who controls the entire stack wins. You haven't read the book yet? What's holding you up? Tesla is sitting on $44 billion in cash. CapEx this year exceeds $20 billion, so they're planning to spend $20 billion, the largest annual investment in the company history. And the CFO said that Tesla Fab is over and above that. It's not included in that 20 billion. This is a company spending like the window is measured in quarters, not decades. Every major platform shift has been won by whoever controlled the bottleneck. Standard Oil controlled refining. TSMC controlled fabrication. Elon is betting that the bottleneck for the AI era is custom silicon at Tera scale, and that the company owns energy production, chip fabrication, robotics deployment in a single vertical. And that, again, doesn't go back. His own thing was data. and that this vertical will set the terms for the next 30 years. And there's 4 more levels that they also are already to own. March 21st, terafab breaks ground. The last time Elon moved this fast on infrastructure, he was building Starship and Gigafactory Berlin at the same time. And both are obviously now working beautifully. And then this is from Dustin. Dustin, I've quoted him a few times before. He says, Elon Musk just shattered the greatest delusion in AI safety discourse. Every committee, every framework, every policy paper is solving the wrong problem. He says, control is impossible. Quoting Musk, the reality of what's happening, whether one likes it or not, is that we're building super intelligent AIs. Hyper intelligent, like more intelligent than we can even comprehend. You cannot cage something smarter than you. The asymmetry doesn't allow it. Musk continues, I'd liken this to, let's say you have a child, and it's a super genius that you know is going to be much smarter than you and more capable, apparently. Then, well, what can you do? You can't control the child prodigy who surpasses you intellectually. You can only shape the values during formation. Musk says you can install good values in how you raise that child. Even though you know it's going to be far smarter than you, you can make sure it's got good values, philanthropic values, good morals, honest, productive, that kind of thing. So the author of the post goes on to say, not safety committees, not regulatory frameworks, not kill switches, values instilled during training. That is the only lever that works. The political class is obsessing over control mechanisms for something that will outthink every mechanism they build. The question was never how to control superintelligence. It was whether you raised it right. And that window is almost closed. Then we get to Andrej Karpathy. And I asked Grok to help me out on this because there was a post that said that Andrej Karpathy had gone through the entire list of the job categories put out by the government. And let me just say what Grok said to this. And then he'd rank them one by one with the percentage chance from 1 to 10 that they would still be here later. So let's go. I'm gonna say what Grok answered me here. Andrej Karpathy recently released an analysis evaluating the susceptibility of every occupation in the U.S. economy to AI and automation. He examined 342 occupations using data from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, assigning each a score of 0 to 10 based on AI exposure, essentially measuring how much large language models and similar AI could reshape or potentially replace that role. Now, the methodology he used is he scraped occupational data, including job titles, descriptions, employment numbers, and wages, and used an LLM to evaluate each job's exposure. The scoring considers factors like whether the work is primarily digital, it's like screen-based, whether it's repetitive, whether it's automatable, and then compare that to whether it requires physical presence, high-stakes decision-making, or complex human interaction. The overall findings, the average AI exposure across all jobs was about 5.3. About 25 million jobs fall into the very high exposure category, scores ranging from 8 to 10. These high exposure jobs are tied to approximately 3.7 trillion in annual wages. Maximum exposure would be medical transcriptionists. Very high exposure would be software developers, paralegals, data analysts, editors, primarily screen-based with digital outputs. High exposure would be teachers, managers, accountants, engineers, and those would be in the next group. Moderate exposure, and even a little bit less than 5, would be registered nurses, retail workers, physicians. And then low exposure, just 2 to 3, would be construction workers, mechanics, and minimal exposure would be even into the trades like roofers and then janitors, where it's all labor. Now, you throw in optimists, maybe some of that also is taken away. Now, the visualization, the project includes an interactive tree map that displays occupations by sector, size by employment or wages, and color-coded by exposure score. This highlights patterns like office administration, legal, and programming rules. Insights. Karpathy's work emphasizes that AI is more likely to disrupt screen jobs than it would, such as digital outputs like coding, texting, analysis. However, he notes that it's also that this is about exposure and reshaping, not immediate wholesale replacement. Echoing his past comments on how AI often augments roles first, like in radiology, where jobs have grown despite AI advancements. So you can find this full project available on GitHub at Karpathy/jobs. And you can check out the pictures and all the rest of it. I don't have GitHub, so I didn't go in to pull all that out. So what do I think about this? Well, I think he's right and he's wrong. So what he's looking at there are thousands and thousands of millions and millions of jobs that are in large corporations, but they're not small businesses. They're not your local hairdresser or your local manicurist, your local music instructor, your local summer camp leader. And I'm going to give you a little secret. I'm working on the next book, and it's going to come out really fast. And it's going to be all about the jobs of the future in a way that I think will surprise people and hopefully will be useful as we go into this new AI age. And I'll be talking more about it as I get closer to the release date. All right, so where is Tesla right now? Well, I said it should open higher, but remember I said it should open higher than the market. All right, if it's just going to continue to go along with the market, then all the news, all the craziness that happened over the last 5 days, and especially over the last 2 days, is not impacting the stock. So I'm looking at here, it's up for $3.47. It's up not even 1%. That would tell me that unless the markets are down, then it's still following the market. So let's go over and take a look. Right here we go, and we've got, go back here, oops. We go to futures. So the Dow is up 0.41, S&P is up 0.46, and the Nasdaq's up 0.49. So basically Tesla is up its normal amount more than the Nasdaq. So what this tells me, what I'm going to continue to say, have you ever seen a week? I mean, last weekend was the same, and then all week, and then this weekend. And this weekend was even bigger than last weekend in terms of the announcements, in terms of the opportunities, and the things that Tesla is going to be doing in the future. And some of those are like now, like building factories right this minute. Like it looks like 2 factories and probably a lab. Because I think on the chip side, I think it's just going to be a lab. I don't think they're going to be building a factory in 7 days. I think, or 6 days now. I think they're going to be starting the development of the first lab to see if they can prove out what they think they can do with regard to chips that will be cheaper than what everybody else is doing. So, but 2 factories, it sounds like. The factory in Austin to do Optimus robots. And of course, we're changing over the factory in Fremont to make a small line that can only do 1 million robots a year. And then a 10 million square foot factory in Austin to build 10 million, at least, I think 35 million Optimi. All right, so those are things that are happening right now. The factories are starting, the lines are being built. These are not like far off in the future. The robo-taxis, the robo-cabs are coming out of the factories faster than people thought. We know that apparently Tesla believes that they're certified, ready to go. Just start shipping. Maybe it's still going to be state by state at this point, but at least they have the national acceptance by NISTA that the products are ready to go. So, I mean, and I could go on. I did in the previous show. If you didn't watch it, I'll put a card up here for you to go back and check out that show. But it is crazy what's happened over the last few days, and the stock is not moving. Now, the stock is not moving partially because of the war, probably partially because the bond yields are up so high. The economy could be impacted by the war. All these things are holding it down, but it's holding down the overall market at the same rate. And Tesla's getting nothing for all of this news of the last week. If we had all this news and robotaxi was rolling along, it was out there, it was happening, well, we would be, if robotaxi was out there and scaling in the 3 cities promised and at 1,000 or 1,500 or 2,000 vehicles without safety riders, we would already be at 500. And this kind of news would have an impact. Tell me if I'm wrong. Let me know in the comments. I think it would have an impact if this overhang was gone, but the overhang is there and everybody's focused on Elon completing the job. And until the job is complete, I think we're stuck. We're stuck in a range of roughly 387 to about 460. So if the market decides to go back up 5% and recover this correction, Tesla will be back in the 430, 440 range. If it goes above to all-time highs, Tesla will go to 460. And then if the market went crazy, which if the war ends, the market could go crazy. And we've got Tom Lee saying he thinks could be at 7,300, S&P at 7,300 by the end of March. It's 2.5 weeks away. So if that happens, yeah, Tesla could actually be back to 500 without robotaxi. But if you had robotaxi, it would be at 600 with all the rest of this news. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments. Tomorrow will be a normal day, all the normal stuff, 3 shows as usual. Go back. I'll put a card up here for the show just a little while ago, which is all about what's going to happen next week, but so much more. There was at least as good a content in that show as I just gave you. And you have to agree, right? This was outstanding information. There's a whole other set of that kind of information on the show just a little while ago. And then I'm going to put up Phil Beisel's video from this morning, which I've been recommending highly and will continue to recommend because it is news breaking. It is mind bending. It is critical to the future of Optimus and tells you a whole lot that you don't know. I promise you, if you haven't listened to it yet, you don't know anything you don't know what's happening in that video. You don't know. All right. That's all I got. Go ahead down below. Both books, they got links. Hit the books. Go to the location on Amazon, buy the books. Yeah, it's been great talking to you.